Azul! This game has a lot of strategy elements that I want to talk about, so let's do it. So the first thing to think about is how many tiles there are per person. For example, in a 2-player game, there are 20 tiles total across 5 discs. So if I am picking tiles and I end up with 10, my opponent will end up with 10. If I end up with 11, they'll end up with 9. If I end up with 12, they'll end up with 8. And you can see where I'm going. But that's not enough. In this game, it's not about placing the most tiles. It's placing them in the right spots. There's a 3-point difference between going 1, 2, 3, 5, 4 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see the difference if you look at the example. You get 1 point for the first tile, 2 more points for the second, 3 more points for the third, and if you place a 5th, you get 1 more point for that, and then place the 4th, you get 5 more points. So that's 12 points total. If you go from top to bottom, you get 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, 5 point. That's a total of 15. It's the same amount of tiles, but a 3-point difference. So you're creating this progression of tiles going from one corner. Usually it makes the most sense to go from the top to bottom, and you want to not make additional sections. One trap that I kept falling into was trying to decide early on, I want 5 of one type to get that extra 10 at the end of the game. That was never worth it. Early on when I'm trying to get that, I'm placing tiles all over the board and just getting single points and creating 2 sections where I'm just not getting that many points. If incidentally I get a 5th or I see near the end of the game someone's gonna close the round out with an ending game tile, I will go for that 5th if I can and get those extra points. However, vertical lines are worth 7. You naturally wanna do that because that's a way to generate a lot of points, but you also get a lot of points part of the end game. So those are really where you want to go. One cool thing I really like about this game is the going first tile. So that's got so many elements to it of benefits and drawbacks. If I take from the middle, I have to take that. It gives me -1, but I get to start the next round. I find that it's usually a good move to take that when you can, because the -1 that you get is less of an impact than the benefit you get, which is starting the next round. Especially if you need to finish off a row, that's a really important tile to have. If you have 2 left on your row of 4, you can easily, maybe not easily, but you're more likely to get that by starting the round. You just pick the 2 you need, finish off the row, and you're good. Let's look at the pattern rows. How can we do this well? Filling the pattern rows is all about doing it in the least amount of turns possible. If I can fill in a full row of 4 in 1 turn, that's a great turn. It's not all about doing the most amount of tiles in 1 turn, because you might be filling a row of 5 but having it somewhere terrible. It might be more beneficial to take 2 turns to fill your row of 4 if it's in a vertical line, part of your progression. One thing that does come up is hate drafting. So there's 2 aspects to this. First of all, don't hate draft, because you're hurting yourself by not getting something good for you. You're hurting your opponent by, that's what you're trying to do. But you're also letting the other 2 players go ahead. So that's why it's a bad thing to do. In a one-on-one, you're not hate drafting at that point. You're just denying them of resources. So that could be a viable option. Let me tell you about inevitability. If you're trying to fill a row of 3 and you see on the discs, there's 2, 1, and 1 of a color, and you're a one-on-one match. You pick the 2 because the other opponent, no matter what they do, there will be at least 1 available left. So you get your 3. In a different example, if there's 2, 2, and 1, you take the 1 because no matter what your opponent does, you'll get 2. Look for opportunities like that where you can guarantee you're gonna get to fill your row with what you want. So looking at all these strategies and trying to keep them in mind, just remember, build full rows in the least amount of turns as possible. Have a progression of your pattern where you're creating them all together and getting the maximum points possible. Don't hate draft because it hurts you and the opponent you're drafting against. Look for ways of inevitability. You want to make sure you're getting what you want to get. Now those are just a few of the strategies for the game. Send me your own. Tell me how you think about it. Do you disagree with any of these? Tell me what you think. And that's Azul for you. Have a great day. Angry Thief is a 2 to 6 player take that kind of card game where you match food and spill your opponents. Get it now on Kickstarter.